Hi, this is Mr. Aguilar. Welcome to this tutorial on Adobe Illustrator. So today's goal is to take you through some basic functions of Illustrator. And what we're going to do is we're going to start off by opening a new document. So there's three different ways from this window that we're in right now to open up a document. One is you can go to Create New, which is right here. You can go to File, New, or you can use that shortcut that you see, Control N. So I'm going to hit Control N for new. And it's going to bring up this dialog box. So we want to create a custom one. I already started it at 4 inches in width, 6 inches in height, and I want 2 artboards. So it's usually set up at 1. It'll save whatever the last setting you put it to. So I'm going to put it to 2. And then I'm just going to title this AI Basics. And click Create. So what's going to pop up is you're going to get a new window, and it's going to have 2 drawing surfaces for us to create our illustration because we created 2 artboards within one file. We'll get into artboards later and I'll explain it. Let me shut this down because I want to show you how to access this stuff. If your screen doesn't look like mine, what I want you to do is go right up here to the square, and I want you to click on it and just go to Essentials Classic. Okay, so once you click on that, it should change your window and it should look like this. You should have the toolbar right there on the left-hand side, and you have your panels on the right-hand side. And then you have your categories up here, such as File, Edit, Object, Type, Select, Effect, View, Window, and Help. And then you have a separate toolbar that pops up depending on which tool you are using. So in this case, what we want to do is we want to use our Shape tool, which is right here. But before we get into that, I want to talk to some other basic tools that we're going to use today. One being our Direct Path tool, or a selection tool, which will select a whole object, and that is right here. And its shortcut is the letter V. The next tool is the white arrow tool, and its direct selection is A. So we're going to start by creating a new shape. So when I come in here, I'm going to go again to my rectangle. And what I'd like to do is I want to click on it, and it's going to let me draw a square. But I want to draw a perfect square, so I need to constrain it. So to constrain it, I'm going to hold Shift and pull down, and that's going to give me a perfect square. Now you're going to see some other things that pop up. These are modifiers. So you have 4 different modifiers in this case because you have the 4 corners. And this one in the middle will modify all 4 together. That's something I want to get into in the future. Right now, what I want to focus on is just going through the basic shapes and their functions. So the next one you have is the rounded rectangle tool. So I'm going to click on the rounded rectangle tool, and just like on this one, I'm going to press Shift, and I'm going to draw a new shape. And now I have a rounded rectangle. So I just go back to V, which takes me to my tool here. And now that I have this, I want to move to my next tool. So while you're watching this video, you have a couple of options. One, you can pause it every time we do something new and then do that activity. Or you can watch the whole video and then go back and try it and do it again. Or watch the whole video, go back and pause it every time we do something new. So we're going to move into the Ellipse tool. And unlike the square, I don't want to hold Shift because Shift will give me a circle for my top point. And I want to be able to draw a circle from the center. So I'm going to hit Shift and Alt and then just pull out, and then I get a nice circle. Now at this point, my circle's a little too close to my square, so I'm going to hit V. And I'm going to come back down and just drag that down. I now want to make an ellipse. So this is a circle, I'm going to make an ellipse. Now if I draw an ellipse, it's just going to start at the point I started at. If I want to draw an ellipse from the center, I'm going to press Alt. And that gives me a nice ellipse. So now I have my 4 shapes. I'm going to keep on working down. And our next shape is going to be our Polygon Tool. And our Polygon Tool can do a bunch of different things. So for one thing, you can modify it with your up and down arrows. And it's going to default to whatever the last polygon I drew. So I'm not going to hold any keys or press any keys right now. I'm just going to click and drag. And it's going to give me a shape. Now I'm going to hit the arrow down. And it's going to keep removing sides until I get a triangle. Once I get the triangle, I'm going to press Shift. And that's going to give me that perfect triangle. And again, I don't like where the shape is, so I'm going to go to V, the direct selection tool. I'm going to grab it and move it. And then I'm going to go back into the Polygon tool, and I'm going to make another polygon. So I'm just going to click and drag, and again, it's giving me a triangle because that was the last one I did. And next time I'm going to hit the up arrow, and I'm going to give myself a shape. Let's see, I like that shape. Maybe one more down. And now I'm going to hit Shift, and that's going to constrain and lock it into place. Go back to V, to my Move tool. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to move down from the Polygon tool. So click here, and I'm going to go to that Star tool. Now the Star tool is going to automatically default to whatever I used it last. So I'm going to click and drag, and then I'm just going to hit the down arrows until I get my traditional 5-star. Now I can hold Shift, lock it into place, V for the Move tool. And what I like to do now is I want to create 2 different stars. So this is a standard 5-point star. Let's go back to our Star tool. I'm going to click and drag, but now I'm going to hit the up arrow, and that's going to give me a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-point star. Back to my Move tool, which is V, and I'm just going to move that over. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to create a new star, but my shapes are a little bit too big. So what I'd like to do is, I think the squares are fine, but I'm going to take my Path Selection tool and I'm going to drag it over these 6. And then I'm going to go to the corner and I'm going to use the Shift key. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key and I'm going to drag up and make these a little bit smaller to give myself a little bit more room over here and to make things in more proportion. So I'll go back to my Star tool and I'm going to click on that and I'm going to drag, and then I'm just going to hit the up arrow a few times and give me that star shape here. So now I got all my shapes: a square, a rounded square, a circle, an ellipse, a triangle, a polygon, and 3 different stars. And now we want to start talking about how can we modify. So I want to show you a couple of other tools. So I'm going to click on the square, and if I go over here to these 3 lines, that is our stroke panel. And in here, with my object selected, I can increase the size of the stroke, which is over there. Now I want to change that color. I don't really want black. So I have my swatch panel here. So that is the 6 boxes, and you can see it right here. And it's going to give me my panel with my different colors. The other thing to notice is whatever's on top is the color you're going to change. So in this case, it's my fill color. Here I want it to be my stroke color. So I'm going to click on the stroke color. I'm just going to give it a color of red. Didn't work because it wasn't selected. So now I'll give it a color red. And you can see how my object now has a red thick stroke. I'm going to go to my next object. I'm going to change the color, but I don't want to change the stroke size or color. So I'm going to click on the fill, and I'm going to pick a different color in here. So I'm just going to pick this light blue, and I've changed that color. But what if I want more colors than what's offered? So I'm going to go to these 3 dashed lines, which we call a hamburger, and it's right here. And I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to go to Open Swatch Library. And I'm going to go into my color books, which are here, and I'm going to select Pantone Coded. Now, when yours pop up, it's probably not going to look like this. It's probably going to look like that. All you have to do is grab it and drag it, and you'll be able to see all the different colors that are in here. So I'm going to go select the circle. It's going to pick a nice moss color. I like that one. I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to go with a nice green. Let's go with a bright green here. And let's just go through and start picking some colors. Again, it really doesn't matter. What I want you to do is I want you to get used to finding where everything's at and being able to make simple changes like color. Let's do a little blue violet here. Let's go like a light blue violet. Come in here, make this like a red violet. Well, actually, let's make this a violet. We'll make this one a red violet. And then I'm just going to pick another color in here. Let's pick orange. And that's all I really need you to do. If I double click back on here, it's going to shrink it down. If I click on it again, it'll pop it open. If I double click here, it'll open up that menu. So there's a couple of different ways that you can see this, but you don't always want it up. So again, I'm just going to double click and it's going to shrink it down. I can click the arrow here that's going to take it and make it nested again, so it keeps it out of the way. So right now, what I'd like you to do for the first assignment is I want you guys to create your different shapes. I want you to modify a stroke. I want you to add colors to all of these. And then we're going to move on and I'm going to show you how some of those modifiers that I talked about earlier, like you see right in here, how those work. So that'll be for the next video. Don't forget to save this. So Control S or Control Shift S to save as, and you want to make sure that you save it into your flash drive. So we'll continue again with the next video, and I'm going to show you a couple of different things that you can do in Illustrator.